Welcome to another marybeng76 time travel excursion, September 25th. I'm your host and time pilot, the Salty Historian. As always, please keep your favorite bits, bobs, and body parts inside the vehicle at all times. Because if you drop one, it's part of history. I ain't got time to go back, and besides, I don't wanna. Oh, and do me a favor and buckle up. Some parts of our trip today are going to have some serious turbulence. Take a look at the warning at the top of this screen. And please exit now if this will not be a healthy trip for you. Your mental state is far more important than this video. Today we'll be traveling from the 17th through the 21st centuries. So, here we go. First stop, 17th century, 1690, Boston, and the publication of the American colony's first newspaper. It was called Public Occurrences, and never got past its first issue. But why? Well, this printer called Benjamin Harris, like so many others, was fed up with the powers that be. Greed, corruption, you get it. So Ben decided to say all the things that everybody else was just thinking. So in a 4-page publication, it was a hit with more editions planned. But the governor did not find it entertaining. See, at the time, it was a crime to publish anything without permission from the governor, especially if it made him look bad. And Ben was officially inconvenient for the poor little governor's ego. Within just a few days, the governor had all of the issues gathered up and burned because his feelings were so hurt. Ben got thrown in jail, and the governor sighed in relief. Except he didn't get them all. One copy still exists in a British library and continues to make him look bad. See, kids, book burning doesn't do what you think it does. How about the 18th century? 1789, and the first U.S. Continental Congress. Debates were going hard over what to include, in a new country's guidelines. And on September 25th of that year, 12 amendments to the new Constitution were proposed and debated. Articles 3 through 12 were ratified on December 15th, 1791. You've heard them called the Bill of Rights. Are you exercising yours? Moving on to the 19th century and 1875. To a dude who probably didn't even know about the Bill of Rights. On September 25th of that year, a young man escaped jail in Silver City, New Mexico, by climbing up the chimney. But no matter how many trips he made back to jail, it never changed him. Crime was his thing, including, among other things, allegedly unaliving 21 men, before he himself was taken out at the age of 21. Maybe you've heard of him? Billy the Kid. Well, only 15 years later, September 25th, 1890, President Benjamin Harrison signed legislation to protect these giant trees in California. It was the first U.S. national park created to protect living organisms. It's called Sequoia National Park. Have you ever been? Because I haven't. Let's make a couple of stops in the 20th century next. Our first stop is one of those trigger warnings that I mentioned at the beginning, when in 1957, 9 children had to be escorted by some 300 servicemen just to go to school. Brown versus Board of Education had been decided in 1954, desegregating public schools. But law doesn't make the ignorant pay attention. The kids' first day of school was September 3rd, 1957. 9 children, Melba Patillo, Ernest Green, Elizabeth Eckford, Minnie Jean Brown, Terrence Roberts, Carlotta Walls, Jefferson Thomas, Gloria Ray, and Thelma Mothershed were excited to go to a previously all-white school for a better education. So that morning, they had agreed to meet at the 16th Street entrance of the school. Ministers were there in support and to accompany them. At first, Elizabeth went to the wrong end of the school, and as she walked towards the other kids, a white mob followed her and screamed obscenities at her. One of their chants, 2, 4, 6, 8, we ain't gonna integrate. Just, really? And at the school entrance, where so much hope had lived, those 9 kids couldn't even go inside. See, the governor, nope, not going to say his dumbass name, had called out the Arkansas National Guard the night before to maintain and restore order, which had only been destroyed because of white people and their ignorance. Those 9 children had to be escorted away by police for their own safety. It took more than 2 weeks for the kids to try again. On September 24th, President Dwight D. Eisenhower ordered units of the U.S. Army's 101st Airborne Division, called the Screamin' Eagles, to get to Little Rock and federalize the National Guard. In a televised speech, he said, Mob rule cannot be allowed to override the decisions of the courts. So on September 25th, 1957, Melba, Ernest, Elizabeth, Minnie Jean, Terence, Carlotta, Jefferson, Gloria, and Thelma, escorted by the Screaming Eagles, finally had their first day of school. For the remainder of the year, guards had to escort them to class. But they couldn't go into the bathrooms or the classrooms because they would be considered distracting. So you can imagine what happened at those times. There were white kids who stood with them and suffered the same things. There are those of us who continue to stand. I wish I could tell you that things are different now, but unless you live under a rock, you know they're not. Well, I guess a major difference is that the Screaming Eagles are not posted there as help anymore. I encourage you to go and read more about the Little Rock Nine. I've barely scratched the surface. So our other 20th century stop is in 1981, when the first woman ever to sit on SCOTUS was sworn in. Sandra Day O'Connor was part of the highest court in the land from 1981 to 2006. And if you're interested, you can head over to my playlist for women with last names beginning with O and hear her story. Okay, a couple of stops in the 21st century. Yes, the one we currently live in. Sorry. So back in 2017, a wiener took center stage, and it wasn't a ball game. Well, I suppose it was. See, because September 25th of that year, a former U.S. representative from New York, Anthony Weiner, is it Weiner or Wiener? Does it fucking matter? He's beneath respect anyway. That day, he was sentenced to 21 months in prison. At the time, the judge said, "This is a serious crime that deserves serious punishment." So, in case you forgot, he was arrested for, quote, transferring obscene material to a minor. Basically, the wiener showed his wiener to a 15-year-old girl. Because he's fucking disgusting. I didn't do any research into what he's doing now because fuck that guy. Let's move forward to 2020. No, not the big C that shut down the world, but equally consequential. In September of 2020, the United States suffered the loss of one of the most important women in our history. I know you know her name. On September 25th, 2020, Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the first woman ever to lay in state at the United States Capitol. Previously, that honor had only ever gone to men. Just a few presidents, vice presidents, and yeah, other Supreme Court justices. RBG is deeply missed and still needed today. Well, she's still here. Every single time you cast a vote for women and the marginalized, you can elevate her voice and message hard this November. Just saying. So if you were born on September 25th, you share your birthday with Will Smith, who turns 56 today. How in the fuck does he still look 30? Catherine Zeta-Jones turns 55 today. Seriously, what the fuck is in the water that people in Hollywood are drinking? Donald Glover is 41 today. Dude, you have no idea how relieved I was that he's in his 40s. I thought he was a lot younger, and I was starting to feel like a dirty old woman because, whew, hot. And finally, you share your birthday with the incomparable Mark Hamill, who turns 73 today and is still cooler and way hotter than I'll ever be. Maybe you need a reason to celebrate September 25th. Well, it's National Daughters Day. Hug 'em if you got 'em. National Lobster Day. That's going to be a no from me unless I'm on the coast. National Food Service Workers Day. How about leaving them a bigger tip, yeah? Because it's also National Quesadilla Day. According to MSN.com and QSRmagazine.com, if you're near a Chipotle today, you might want to see if they're participating in the $1 million in free quesadillas thing. Need I say more? And it is National Women's Health and Fitness Day, which reminds me that I need to get off my ass like I used to. And it is World Dream Day. Take one little step toward making one of yours come true. Alas, that brings us back to 2024. And the first time I haven't been completely sad about that, because there's a hell of a lot more hope happening around here these days. Please make sure you have all your favorite bits, bobs, and body parts, and haven't picked up any extras along the way. I really don't want to have to explain that to the insurance company. They'd probably take my license to drive this damn thing, and nobody wants that. Oh, and take your trash with you. I'm not your mom. Thank you for joining me on another trip through time with marybeng76 Time Travel Excursions. See you again real soon.